Welcome to the Crunch Time YouTube channel. Today we're talking about how the Milwaukee Bucks have made a lot of great moves that are going to help put them in great position to win a championship. So let's get right into the video. Last season, the Bucks didn't have enough people to win a championship. They just had too many holes. Teams were able to guard Giannis, and after Giannis was stopped, the entire team basically fell apart. Eric Bledsoe did terrible. A lot of the supporting cast wasn't great. Middleton didn't. He was on and off basically the entire Heat series. And now we're just going to talk about the moves they made and how that really helps them. So, the biggest move they made is the Drew Holiday trade. They gave 5 first-round picks. They gave Eric Bledsoe, George Hill also, I believe. That's a lot of compensation to give up for Drew Holiday, but in a way, it feels like they're doing this trade just to keep Giannis. And if you're a Bucks fan, I wouldn't think of this as 5 first-round picks for Drew Holiday. Think of this as 5 first-round picks to keep Giannis. And if you think of it in that way, it's a much more even trade in your opinion. You're like, okay, this trade makes sense. Because if they can keep Giannis, this trade is definitely worth it. So that was the first move they made, and I think it really helps them. That gives them a guard on the perimeter, just really good. Drew Holiday, he can create his own shot, really good at defense. You can argue best defensive guard in the league, and that's going to be very valuable for the Bucks. Their guard play has just not been super strong the last few years. And Eric Bledsoe, he's alright. I've never really been a big fan of him. When we got him from Phoenix, it was good for a temporary fix, but as Giannis became a superstar, became one of the best players in the league, you realize you need more on the perimeter. Considering Giannis isn't much of a shooter himself, he doesn't have a jump shot, so you need to surround him with guys who can shoot. And Drew Holiday also plays very good defense, so that was a great move. There was a sign and trade for Bogdanovich. That fell apart because he didn't want to go to the Bucks. That kind of makes no sense. How does a sign and trade work when the player you're signing and trading didn't want to go to that team? So that was interesting in itself. But they did lose a few players. They did lose Wesley Matthews this offseason. He went to the Lakers, one of the teams they're obviously going to be competing with. That was a bit of a blow. He was one of their best perimeter players. But they did have Drew Holiday, so that will help that. And they did draft, I believe, Nwora, and he was early second round pick. He's a good shooter in my opinion. He should be able to help them. But they also re-signed Pat Connaughton, which is really good for them, keeping that perimeter guard. And a really underrated move, in my opinion, was signing Bobby Portis. They've never really had a great backup big. They did have Robin Lopez. They got rid of him, though, declined his option. I don't know if it was a player option or team option. All I know is whoever had it, they declined it. He left them. So that was a good move for the Bucks, in my opinion. Just getting rid of Robin Lopez, creating that $5 million cap space, and they were able to sign Bobby Portis, which I find a really interesting signing. He was on the Knicks last year. He was getting paid a decent amount of money. They declined his team option, and now the Bucks have him. I think he's a really good inside player, and he can kind of give Giannis a break sometimes. He can do a lot of good stuff inside. That's basically where most of his game shines through. And that should be able to give players like Giannis a break. And they never really had a backup for Giannis. Obviously, you're never going to have a player that can replace what Giannis does for you, but having someone who can just fill in for 10, 12 minutes a game, that will really help. And we all know how much Budenholzer loves playing his starters in the playoffs, will not increase their minutes. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. But the Bucks have made a lot of good moves, and I kind of want to talk about what the Pelicans are doing just because of Drew Holiday and how they really are doing such a good job with trading and managing their roster, in my opinion. They picked Kira Lewis in the first round. I think that was a steal. I'm going to have another video on the draft, winners and losers, but I'm just letting you know, I think that was a great pick for them. I don't know, not that high on Lonzo. People say, well, he's good at defense, he can pass, but he's never been guarding the number one because Drew Holiday's been doing that the entire time because he's the best defensive guard on that team until they traded him. And his shooting is just terrible. You can't have a guard shoot that poorly. Nowadays, I just don't think that helps your team as much. Like, unless you have LeBron James on your team who can play that guard position for you, kind of, you need to have a guard who can at least shoot okay. Doesn't have to be like Steph Curry or something. But they were able to get Steven Adams, which is really interesting because now if you look at their front court, it's Zion and Steven Adams. And let's just say that's going to be a very tough front court to play against for many teams. Many teams are going smaller, but the Pelicans just got bigger. Those are two very strong players, play inside, going to outmuscle a lot of teams this upcoming season. So they got, I believe, 11 first-round picks just from AD and Drew Holiday, picks and pick swaps. That's just crazy. Thunder are doing a lot of stuff similar to the Pelicans, where they have a ton of first-round picks too. But I feel like the Pelicans are in a much better spot than the Thunder. The Thunder have SGA, and that's about it. Lu Dort too. But I don't know. I just don't think what the Thunder are doing is getting rid of all talent is worth it. The Kelly Oubre trade I wasn't a big fan of. You're getting either a very late first or 2 seconds for a player who can become a really good player for you. At worst, he'll be like a number 3 option for that team. This year, he'd probably be the number 2 option. So that's interesting, of course. So now going back to the Bucks, I think they're really in position right now to compete for a title. I did not think they were really true favorites last year. I still liked the Heat better than them, and I liked the Celtics better than them. The Raptors were kind of 50-50. We know what they were able to do with Kawhi the year before, but I just think Kawhi helped them so much defend Giannis. But the Bucks, I think, are front runners in the East. The Celtics lost Gordon Hayward. They lost Enes Kanter. And those are a few players that had big roles on that team. Obviously, they want Tatum. They want Brown. They want those two guys to take more of the offensive load. I feel like with Hayward, there's just too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal. So he's going to the Hornets now, and that should really help kind of clear it out. They kind of lost a role for him. I really would have liked to sign and trade. Just get Miles Turner. I think the Celtics wanted more. Doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, Hayward for Miles Turner might just be my evaluation of Turner might be different. But I just think he's better than Hayward just value-wise. It would have been better just for the Celtics. Do sign and trade. Just get Turner. This would have made sense. But that's whatever. So, these are my thoughts on the Milwaukee Bucks. Comment below if you think they're the front runners in the East. And thanks for watching and have a great day.